Starting a new project today. Pergola for the deck in the back. These 4x4s have been drying in my barn all summer, about three and a half months. These are going to be attached to the deck railing, and I think they need a little bit better finish than they have right now, so I'm going to sand these smooth and then pre-stain them. I'm working with treated lumber here, so anytime I can sand outside, I like to sand outside to keep the dust out of the shop. This final step is important because this is a semi-solid stain from Cabot, and if I didn't get these runs out, it would be, you could see that in the end product, and I would have to do some resanding. But in doing this way, I like to paint whenever I can horizontally instead of vertically. And right now, just going over it with this brush started out dry, just picking up any drips on the sides and then rotating them one more time to make sure I had everything covered. These are going to sit here and dry the rest of the day. That deck is really hot in the afternoons, so I will not start on anything until the morning and have the morning session, work sessions over there. These are going to have several cross members on them, and it's a lot easier to get the paint on or the stain on now than to try to do it when they're up in the air. It's a second story deck, so it's already pretty high. And once I get these up where they go, I'll decide what's the best top and what's the best bottom. I gave it some more thought, and since I had so much space left on my sawhorses, I decided to go ahead and stain this 2x6 that I'll be using. I knew that if I got started and got all the 4x4s upright tomorrow, I really needed something to tie them in with, and if I didn't have any of this prepped, I would be upset with myself. So these 2x6s will be up in the air, so I don't need to sand them. Nobody's going to be touching them, rubbing up against them like they would. Although my youngest grandson is a very skilled climber, we'll have to watch him so he doesn't get on top of this pergola. There it is. They're all prepped. They may need a second coat. Back to the pergola. Yesterday, after I fixed this corner, I went ahead and stained the entire deck and stairs. Looks a lot better. It's going to need a second coat. I used Cabot semi-transparent. We had some wood here that was old and some that was new, and the semi-transparent did a great job of blending the two. Onto the pergola. This deck drops in both directions away from the house, which I think is important. We don't want water pouring into the house. Plans for the pergola? Well, I have no plans. I don't want to attach it to the house, so it's going to be a corner pergola. If you do a Google search for corner pergolas, you'll find a lot of them. This is the one my wife picked out. So I've got my uprights here, the 4x4s. I'm going to be attaching them to the railing. I do know that. I think these two are too close together. And I also just noticed, I turned these several times yesterday, that this one looks bad facing here because it's got that big dent in there. So I'm going to rearrange these again. I think I'm going to have to move these two a little further away from the corner, which is not a problem. I mentioned that this deck slants in both directions. Here's my concern. There's going to be a cross member that goes across here. If I make that level, you're going to see a visual difference in the horizon here. So I'm going to make that parallel to the deck, and I don't think the eye will catch it. Now the pickets here are relatively, for the most part, plumb. So I do need to plumb the uprights. But since I don't have any plans, I'm going to draw this out on the deck using chalk so I don't mess up my new paint job here. I was listening to Peter Brown. Actually, the name of his website is Peter Brown Was Taken. Really like his channel. It does a lot of crazy things on it. But he last winter was talking about big picture guys and detailed guys, and mentioned the Mythbusters, another one of my favorite shows. Well, Jamie, of course, is no plan guy, and Adam is the plans guy, and they worked well off of each other like that. So I'm kind of like Jamie. I have no plans. I'll give credit to the photograph, but with that photograph came no mention of where to buy plans. So I've moved both 4x4s, and visually I like that. But now, because there's going to be a 2x6 cantilevered over the top, I'm going to make that on the bottom here, because I think, and this is all very fluid, but I think at this point I want to have 16 inches come off the 4x4. So I don't know if that's going to interfere up here at the top or not. So using my framing square, I know this is a 2x. So if I line that up there, they're going to come roughly to here and there. I think visually that's going to look good. So getting back, Jamie and Adam. Adam would have put this on SketchUp and had every measurement down to a T. Jamie would have done it just like this, kind of at random, seeing what worked and what didn't work. The thing is, though, this lumber is not cheap, so I don't want to make a lot of mistakes. And I also have listened quite a bit to John Hines, another great channel. John Hines has 3 channels. He's a very visual person as well. He has kind of the same feelings I do with SketchUp. You can do it all on paper, but until you see it visually, I'm a very visual learner. Until I see it visually, I don't know if it appeals to me. I'll be attaching a 2x6 to the very top. Right below that will be a cantilevered extension coming out 16 inches on both sides of here. And then the 2x2s will be sitting on top of that. I know those 2x2s aren't going to weigh a ton, but over time, they're going to have a tendency to sag. I'm going to put a very narrow dado in here just to give that a ledge to sit on. I think it's very important for the structural integrity of the pergola. I don't want this thing falling down next year. So just to make sure I get these things, I've spent some time putting them where I want them. I have labeled them 1, 2, 3, and 4, and I've also marked the sides that need dados. Now I decided to put down a tarp here because if I drop some of these tools and bang them up, it's going to make a mark on this new paint. It's pretty dry. Yesterday it had all day to dry. I went and played with the 3 youngest grandchildren, and today is a big work day. It's still shady over here. It's not going to be shady like this all day. But here's what I've decided. I moved my Woodcraft benches up here. I got these from Woodcraft, and I can't recommend them. The first one, they were on sale for half price. The first one came broken, and so I called Woodcraft. They replaced it right away. I had a replacement within 3 days. The first time I took it down, the replacement came okay, but then the first time I took it down, it broke as well. So I had to redo both of these. You can't see this very well. Right here is a piece of angle iron that I managed to get in there. Had to do the same thing to the other corner over there. And then the other one, that's because there's 2 little pins that go into there as this thing folds up. There's a little warning about pinching. I didn't see that until after I got pinched. Man, that hurt. These 4x4s you can see are not very smooth. I'm going to use a pattern bit. I'm going to mark it off. This piece of wood here is the same age as the other pieces. Now that's important because those other pieces have been in my barn for about 4 months. They've shrunk a lot, and this piece is shrunk as well. If you use a fresh piece, it's going to be a lot larger than the pieces that I'm using. So make sure you're marking with a piece of wood that's the same age, especially if it's pressure treated PT lumber. Make sure it's the same age and width as the piece you're going to be working with. So I've lined these up, and the next step then is to get everything set up. Total elapsed time was exactly an hour, 10 seconds short of an hour. But that included me going down and changing the sprinkler down in the grass we're trying to grow for the horses. All right, I'm really happy with the fit. Big loud truck. This one fits in here really nice and tight, just like I wanted it. Now, did I have to make dados here? I don't know. Probably not. I probably could have gotten by because there's not going to be a lot of weight on here. And no, it's not a structural thing people are going to be standing on. I probably could have gotten by with some lag bolts or carriage bolts, but the way I do things, I like to do them right. Sorry. No shortcuts. And what's an hour? Put it up in. For everybody I know, I didn't have my dust mask on the first few minutes of cutting that dado. That was a rookie mistake. I suddenly was starting to taste that treated lumber and realized I hadn't put on my dust mask. So I know. All right, here's where I'm at. 29.5 inches. It's right here. 29.5 inches. It's right here. Away this railing at 29.5 inches. This is a piece that I cut off the ends when I trued up all these pieces of 4x4. So I'm going to use that to mark the other side here. And I'll do the same for this. So there's 2 pieces of wood I need to cut away. This railing is really solid, I can't move it. So I've got to cut away this piece and some of the railing. Went ahead and had a late lunch and went ahead and put these other 2 uprights up. Really pretty pleased with them. They're all plumb. The top up here on these 2 is within 1/8 of an inch of each other. That's nice. That's not going to be noticeable. These 2 on the end here are exactly level. So tomorrow I'm going to spend the rest of the afternoon getting these, getting the cantilever rafters ready, and that'll give me some nice shade to work on in the morning to put up those cross beams.